Ritesh Tilani, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thanks for
Let's
having
make
me.
sure we're good here because you are a bit tall, and they can see that on the camera for those watching on YouTube. So,
I am sitting though, but anyway.
thank you firstly from me, although I've seen you out about a million times since then, but thank you for taking part of the first My Friends, Your Friends and being a host.
My pleasure. That was a lot of fun, actually.
Yeah.
I'm glad you asked to
how was
to
it from the
co-host.
point of view of a host? Because I'm host slash organizer, so kind of I don't think my lens was all the way clear, but did people come up to you and know who you were, talk to you, things of that nature?
So I recognized some people, and I guess they recognized me. So people did come up, but I, I think it was a great event. First of all, right? So if you think about it, the way it works, it's designed to succeed because we take a lot of time to handpick all of our friends. You know, we meet people all day long, all year long, and we screen and filter. So we choose to stay in touch with the people that we like, we enjoy hanging out with, and get along with, and all my friends, I know for a fact that they have great friends of their own as well, great people who happen to be their friends now. So it was just great to meet some of my friends' friends.
Yeah.
Right. And I met some awesome people through that event, who I've continued to stay in touch with. So that's testament to how it works.
Good. So, I mean, that's all I ever wanted. So that's great. Tell the folks who maybe didn't get a chance to come down and meet you that night, or were there that night but didn't get a chance to talk to you, what it is that you do.
So I'm a long-time resident of Dubai. I've been here I was born here, went to school here, and then I went away to the U.S. and France and Singapore to study, and then moved back at some point. Since then, I've been in the world of tech predominantly. So I invest. I used to invest as a VC. Now for myself as an angel investor, I mentor and advise startups of all sorts. And now I have a startup of my own. I've had a few startups in the past as well, but that's what I do day to day now as well. It's a holding company called Enhance that we set up, my partner Alper and I, and we do two things under that. We build startups from scratch, one by one. The first one's called Joy, and it's an online gifting platform. And we also partner with international VCs to bring their portfolio companies to the region.
Okay.
And on that front, we're working with a company called Medigo, based out of Berlin, and it's the world's leading medical travel site. So we're helping them get a foothold in this region, business development, and we also provide the infrastructure and platform through which they can do that, visas and trade license and all that sort of stuff. So we have a team that's employed, dedicated to Medigo out of Dubai as well, that we help.
With Joy, a lot of people know Joy, but I'll summarize. It's basically you have the option using your app to gift people flowers, cakes, singing, what they're called, singograms?
Singing telegrams.
Singing telegrams. It's cool. It's got a great finish to it. It reminds me of this region's Zappos in terms of finish, but obviously it does something very different. With the medical thing, what is that? Are you talking about like medical tourism, like people that might want to come over here to get an operation done?
Essentially, and vice versa. So there's people all over the world who travel for treatment.
Yeah.
Right. Many times they've heard that treatment for a certain condition is the best in ABC country. So, for example, you want to have heart surgery, maybe you want to go to Germany, right? You have cancer, maybe you want to go to the U.S. Or Germany for that matter. I'm just using random examples, but that's as far as you get. Then you don't know which hospital to go to, which doctor to go see there. And generally they call up their friends who live in those regions and they ask. And when people ask me where they should go to get treated in the US, yes, I used to live there, but I'm not qualified to make life or death decisions on your behalf. So for that, we have specialists on our team that can help you decide that. We have a care team that's available 24/7 and dedicated to help you figure out where to go to get treatment. And the website itself helps you discover hospitals and doctors with reviews and ratings, with price indication as well for thousands of treatments. And that helps you make a more educated and informed decision. So between that and the care team helping you figure out, first of all, even whether or not you actually need this treatment, so second opinions, for example, that's something that we do as well. And beyond that, once you've decided that you want to go and get this treatment at that particular hospital with this specific doctor, we'll help you through the entire process, including flights, visas, hotels, getting the appointment with the doctor. Somebody picks you up at the airport, a translator at the hotel at the hospital in case you don't speak the language, and then as far as billing, even so with the insurance company in the hospital. So they take care of everything end to end except the actual treatment itself, which is best left to the doctors or the specialists.
So by bringing tech companies in and having your own tech company and being an angel investor, you're really looking at the industry from multiple points of view at once. For those watching overseas, and I'm lucky to have a good, the attention of some folks in the on the US tech scene as well. How would you summarize Dubai? How would you rank it against the other major tech cities, and what frame of mind should you come into the city with if you're interested in tech and investment?
Sure. So, look, the tech scene in Dubai and the wider region is quite unique. I would say it's somewhat nascent. It's still very early days. We have infrastructure problems, licensing and rent and visas for talent and things like that. Even just educating, nurturing that talent and making sure there's enough of it available to help you build these startups. But we're getting there slowly but surely. I mean, I've been doing this now for about 7 years, and I've seen a sea change over time. And there's still a long way to go, but we'll get there eventually. Even in terms of funding, there weren't that many investors when I started off. There wasn't enough money floating around. Now there's plenty more. We also have international investors who are looking at the region already, and we're lucky to have some of them on board for Enhance. 500 startups, for example, from the Valley. And they've become quite active because they're very bullish on the region as well.
Yeah. Dave McClure's here a lot, right?
Yes, so Dave comes in quite a lot. We have a team on the ground here as well, under 500 startups, with a regional fund called 500 Falcons.
Wow,
so
cool.
Hassan and Asher and so on.
Yeah.
And so the region is getting more and more attractive for investors like that, but also for existing investors who invest today in traditional sectors like real estate, like retail and F&B, who are now becoming more and more interested in tech. I mean, you even have the big family offices and family groups like, Mohammed Al-Abar has now created a new fund dedicated to invest in tech startups.
Right.
The government has $272 million set aside, the government of Dubai,
Yeah.
to invest in tech startups. So there's a lot going on in that sense. And if you look at the macroeconomic factors, right? So the conditions are great. We have a very, very young population that is extremely tech savvy, right? And there is a willingness and an ability to spend, and that too online, right? So I mean, oil being whatever price it's at, the region is still far ahead ahead of the rest of the world, so Western Europe and the US and so on. So our basket sizes here are massive in comparison to a lot of other regions. In our industry itself, we look at Turkey as a more developed market, and in that particular industry, which is gifting and in flowers and so on, we're at about 2.5 to 3x the basket size that they have.
Wow.
Right, and so that's very attractive. And here I'm talking about the GCC specifically.
Yeah.
Right, so...
How many markets is Joy in?
So we're live today. We think of markets as individual cities, right? So it's a very local business. We work with local merchants in each city that we operate in. And so whenever we launch a new market, we literally have to go there and sign up new merchants to be able to create the products, and then we deliver on their behalf. And so essentially we're live today in Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Sharjah in the UAE, and we're also live in Riyadh and Jeddah. So, there we have two of the biggest markets in two of the biggest countries in terms of, just in terms of GDP in this region, right?
One thing I think about a lot was a big story back in the day was Groupon. Groupon had this interesting blend where they were actually doing grassroots campaigning and lobbying with small local merchants. They built up a great network. They built up a customer base. There was a very serious acquisition offer. They missed it. They got punched in the mouth as a company. I mean, they're still around, but you could argue that maybe taking that offer from, I think it was Google, right, for 100 mil would have been a good idea. You're at the top of this company, Joy. How do you and your team make sure you don't get caught in that nightmare? What's best for the future of Joy in terms of acquisition growth? How are you thinking about that?
Look, first of all, we fundraise at the enhanced level, so holding companies. So because we're involved in multiple projects,
Right.
we don't want there to be a conflict of interest where you have one set of investors invested in Joy and another set invested in something else.
Okay.
And we have to justify to them why we're spending time on one versus another.
Yeah, yeah.
So we're building a holding company, an umbrella organization, if you will, under which we build complementary products or businesses. Joy is just the first. So over time, we're investing heavily in building our capabilities in something like Joy, which has, marketing expertise. It has, all the admin stuff, of course, legal and accounting and so on. We have the trade license and the facilities, which are quite big and allow us to expand over time and house multiple projects under it. We have the tech team in Cairo, again, a center of competence and excellence that we built up. It's very difficult to find good talent in that space, right? And then we have a marketing database, right, of these customers that we're already transacting with that it costs us money to go out and acquire, right? To have to do all of that all over again for another business, that's something we can avoid if we operate in the structure that we are operating in right now.
Does that mean that nobody could, like a Souk.com, couldn't come and just grab Joy? You wouldn't be able to just separate that out and sell it.
So over time,
because it would ruin the whole chocolate bar if you snap that bit off, right?
Well, the thing is, over time, we will have to keep it somewhat separate.
Yeah.
As the business grows and we bring in more institutional investors,
Yeah.
they wouldn't be investing in the holding company anymore. They would come in and invest in a specific venture, right? So over time, it will kind of become its own entity. But at that point, we would have had enough experience acquiring this talent and the database and so on, that we could carve some of it off and it becomes its own entity. So at that point, yes, somebody could come along and acquire Joy, and that would work out to the benefit of all the investors that are invested in Joy.
Yeah.
But frankly, we're not looking at that yet. It's still early days.
Yeah.
We have our head down. We're building the business. There's a vision that we have for why we built Joy, and that vision will kind of seep into the next ventures that we do as well, and they'll kind of all work together.
I was just fascinated from a business architecture point of view, because you're right, you don't build it. People shouldn't really build businesses with selling it in mind. I know that that's the biggest criticism of entrepreneurs, is that they're going to build something and sell it. You've built this up in your way.
Yeah.
But I was just thinking that.
Look, I didn't mean to interrupt, but if you're doing that with the exit opportunity in mind, and that is the primary driver, chances are you're not going to do a very good job of building the right product, targeting the right audience and grow it into a big enough business that then becomes attractive for investors. So that's going to happen indirectly anyway, as long as you're doing the right thing, right? So for us, we looked at a number of different opportunities, again, not with the multiples in mind for how much we're going to make at the end of the day. It was truly a broken industry. Gifting today, you have to go down to your corner flower shop. Sometimes they run out. It's tedious. It's inconvenient. It's expensive in many cases. The quality is not great. And if you simply cannot go to a flower shop or a cake shop, then you're kind of dead in the water. There are existing players out there that are serving online, but we don't think they're doing it in a great way. And also, not many people know about the options, right? So if you think about it, in the region, you have companies that are selling online, but they have the word flower in their name. Flower is not the only type of gift, and many times they're looking for other things like cakes and balloons and unique gifts of all sorts. And we have all of that, and we have the word gifts in our domain. We're also not a .ae or a .sa, we're a .com. Nobody else in this region has thought bigger picture like we have. We're also the only physical gifting platform that is regional, that is live in more than one market, because that's how we envision the business. There are synergies that you can have from building a platform that's cross-border, right? People in Saudi have friends in the UAE and vice versa who want to gift each other, right? We asked people, where do you go for fashion online? And they said the usual suspect, Namshi, Marca VIP, Souk Fashion. Where do you go for electronics online? Again, Souk.com, Jado Pado. And we said, where do you go for food online? Talabat, Food on Click. When we asked, where do you go for gifts online? They said, Google.
Right.
That tells you there's a massive opportunity there for the taking. So we want to build this brand called Joy that is easy to remember. It's easy to spell, aside from the fact that we spell with an I, but that allows us to build our own brand that we can then own, right? But it is easy to remember, and we want it to be a household name, a brand that people have top of mind. They don't need to go to Google to find us. Yeah. Right.
Part of what you do, I mean, we were joking before in the coffee shop that you're everywhere, and a lot of people know who you are. How important, going back to the my friends, your friends thing, is your ability to have a lot of connections, be a connector, Is it something you do consciously? Is it something that you learned? What's your position on it? Because you know a lot of people.
And the key is to not think about it as networking, right? I like people. I like getting to know people. I like exchanging ideas with people because that's where you can kind of grow your own ideas as well, right? You bounce it off of others, they have feedback and so on. But I generally like to help people as well. So I mentor and advise a lot of startups, and I have done so over the years. I was lucky enough in my early days to have some good mentors, some good people who coached me through the process of starting up a business and growing it. And I consider myself very lucky to have found those people. I feel like I now have a responsibility to give back to the community and help it grow and help these new entrepreneurs, not make the same mistakes that I made. So that's one way I get to meet a lot of people in my own industry. But in general, I just like meeting people. And so platforms like My Friends, Your Friends allows me to do more of that in a very organic way, right?
But let me ask you a question. If you're 19 years old, you don't have the black book or iPhone that you have, that 19-year-old doesn't have the one that you have as Ritesh, how do you give back enough value without having the connections? Because I think for a lot of people, they're so thirsty to get into the industry, they don't realize that the fundamental principle of success is to be able to offer value. So today, 2017 heading into 2020, how can somebody coming into the industry find a way to offer value even if they don't necessarily have too much?
I meet people of all ages, people older than me who have more experience than I do, but maybe not in this domain. And I meet people really young. I mean, next week, for example, I'm judging at an event at Hult University, kind of like a Shark Tank environment. And there I'm going to meet a lot of young people who have crazy ideas, unique ideas, full of passion and inspiration. And I kind of feed off of that myself too. So I actually enjoy meeting people who are much younger, who don't have as much experience, because our experience also becomes baggage if you think about it, right? We've made mistakes and we don't want to repeat those mistakes, so we'll never think of doing something similar again, right? But sometimes you have to go back and do things a little differently maybe, or just look at it differently. And these young people have a different perspective. I feed off of that, and I get a lot of energy from that as well. It's enlightening and refreshing to see people with new ideas and so much energy.
So really, what a young person can offer is, I mean, because typically people will say, intern for free, grab coffee for people, but really, and this is actually genius. What you're saying is, approach a guy who's my age, our age, hitting mid-30s, and be like, listen, I can't offer you money because I'm young. I might not even be able to offer you that much of my free time because I live in another emirate or another state. But I do have a perspective, and I'd like to share that with you because I think if you had that perspective, it would change the way you make decisions about your business. It's genius, Ritesh.
Well,
it's genius.
Look, I mean, we have people of all sorts in our own teams, right? And some of them very young. They're some of the people with the wildest ideas, and they've actually worked. The ideas have worked for us. We've actually reached new audiences through them. I mean, that is the generation that we're going to be selling to for the next few decades, right? So we need to get to know them very well. And so they come in with that perspective, with the feedback for your particular product. So at the very least, that's something that they can offer, right? But through them, you get to understand their demographic and what you need to be tweaking in your own product that you build, or the next venture that you go on to do 2-3 years from now, and cater to their needs.
No, true, but what's dope about what you said, though, in my opinion, is people like us, we've been in the game 15, 20 years, we know we want young people around us, but we know that as it's us pulling them in, and so we have to filter between the good and the bad. Whereas if a young person approached me and said, listen, I know you need young people on your team, and I know you need to filter between the good and the bad. Not only do I have a perspective, but I've thought about my perspective before I've come to you as pertains to how it maps to the growth of your business. That is a huge jewel. Because actually now, if anybody who's young who's watching this video right now approaches me on that level, they instantly go from my flag read later to read now, text now, book in a time. Because they can say that they're coming to you with not just objectivity, but almost strategic, curated objectivity.
Yeah.
It's genius.
I mean, if you look at...
I wish I knew that at 17, boy.
If you look at some of the biggest tech companies in the world now, they're started by kids in college.
Yeah.
Right? what's to say that, the next kid that you meet, the next 19-year-old you meet tomorrow in Dubai, can't build a big a company that starts off small, granted, but grows to be very big because they just had an idea that was different than everyone else's, right? And if you could be part of that journey to help them shape that idea so that they can accelerate that progress and growth, that development of that venture, then that's a great service you'd be doing to the entire ecosystem, actually.
And even for young people, just to give them some hyper practical advice, like not just saying, listen, I think that every kid around me's got a perspective, but here's the reason why I think mine will be valuable to you. But then actually translating that into tactical day-to-day stuff by saying, hey, listen, I'm prepared to, I don't have that much time, I can't come to your office, my mom won't let me out after 6 o'clock, but I am prepared to monitor the following 3 competitors' hashtags and drop you a one paragraph a week as to how your competitors' hashtags are performing.
Sure, or I'll talk to my friends at school and see if they have any different perspectives on or feedback for your product that you're working on, right?
And drop you one of those every 4 weeks.
Exactly, yeah.
Amazing. Ritesh, brilliant to have you on. Amazing to have you as a co-host of My Friends, Your Friends.
Pleasure's all mine.
I just look forward to whatever we end up doing in the future. Obviously, we'd love to have you as a co-host again in the future, or definitely as an attendee.
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I'm just looking forward to the next event. If I can help out in any way, then that'd be great too.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thanks.